Hi, welcome again to Redink Piercing School. I'm Serge, I'll be your instructor today, and today we have a professional piercer, Funky, with us. We are going to be covering the forward helix today. We first want to go over the necessary equipment and tools that you're going to need. We're going to start out with the piercing itself, which is a labret. Funky, do we have that labret with us? So we typically start out with sterilizing it in a box. So we've already done that, we've pre-sterilized it. Funky, could you please go ahead and show that labret for me, please? So labret has two pieces they pull apart. It's a pin, and then they push together, wedge together, and that is the piercing that we're going to use today. There are other types of screw-ins, internally threaded, externally threaded piercings that you can use, but today we're going to use the push pin. We have a clamp. Can we show that clamp, please? It's a tube clamp. Yep. We have a cork. We have our surgical marker that we're going to use to mark our position where we're going to pierce. We have two needles that we're showing today. We have a catheter needle. Can we show that, please? Right, that comes in two pieces. Once you pierce, that tube is left inside the ear, and the needle is discarded, and that helps to help you put the jewelry in a little bit easier. But today we're just going to use a regular needle. We're using a 16 gauge, Funky, 16 gauge. Yeah, we're going to be 16 gauge. Sometimes it's going to be an 18 gauge. Could be a 20 gauge. It really depends on the size of the jewelry. Okay, so typically what we're going to do is we're going to lube up the needle after we mark the ear. We're going to clean that ear. We're just going to have you turn to the side. You can come in, yeah. So here's the forward helix. We're going to clean that front to back. Do we have a mirror? We have a mirror so the client can see the marking and agree to the positioning. Can you move your head a little bit? Yeah, perfect. So typically with the marking, you don't want to be too close to the edge of the ear, and or you don't want to be too far up, because then it becomes more of a cartilage, top cartilage piercing. So she's centering that dot. Funky's centering the dot to evenly distribute the ear, right? So you have enough ear on one side and the other. If you put it too close to the edge, it could reject. Rejecting means that the piercing will come out of the skin. So we're going to open up. These are pre-sterilized instruments. We're always going to show the needle to the client, right, before we open it. So typically you want to show that needle before you open it so the client can see that it's a single-use disposable needle and that it's pre-packaged. We're going to go ahead and clamp the ear now. So that clamp's positioned right over the marking, and that's going to help to be able to lift the ear up and gently slide the needle through. Okay, don't move. You're okay. No, you're doing great. So you could talk to the client, relax them. Just conversation does help people to relax. We're going to go ahead and pierce now. And this is an area that we're just going to take our time. We're going to be gentle. We're not going to jam it through. You're working it gently through.
Big deep breath in.
Deep breath. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, going in.
Exhale. Good. Nice. Yep, nice and slow. Yep. Good. And we're looking to see it come out the other side. It came through. Perfect. We're going to release the clamps now after we get a cork. Take the clamp off. So we're going to take the clamp off first and then put the cork on. And the cork's going to help, especially for our beginners out there. Cork's really going to help prevent the client from being stuck and or poked. So this way, once the cork is on, you have time to work. The client has time to relax, take a moment, and then the piercing is inserted. So we've got a little bit of blood here, as you can see. We have a little bit of blood in the client's ear. Not to be alarmed, we're going to clean that up, right? It typically becomes difficult when there's blood to put a piercing in, so we want to make sure that blood is addressed before we go ahead and start to put a piercing in. How you feeling?
I feel great.
Good. Excellent. She's doing great. We're going to go ahead and use a taper, and that's going to help us to thread the jewelry, and it has a part that the jewelry can slide into, and it helps to easily insert the jewelry. All right, we're gonna go ahead with the taper now. All right, boom, now pull it all the way through. See, as we can see here, we're pulling this all the way through the taper. Yep, good, you okay? And breathe, deep breath. Exactly, pull it all the way through. Push, push, push. So you want to push and not pull, because if you separate the needle and the taper and you don't make the hole, it's going to be difficult to get in. Take your time. Just push. Yep, push. Okay, breathe. So typically in a situation like this, if the client is bleeding, sometimes what happens is they feel a little faint, they feel a little dizzy. Then you're just going to make sure that there is no needle in the ear. You're going to make sure that one, they have some water. Two, potentially a lollipop or some type of candy, because their blood pressure spikes during a piercing sometimes, and then people do pass out. Highly recommend getting CPR certified, especially in a situation like this where you have somebody who's actually getting pierced and or tattooed. So now that you've dealt with the blood, now we're going to go ahead and get that jewelry in so that we can deal with the blood and not let it drip down the client's ear. So using the taper, and jewelry has a little hole in it that the taper fits into, and you just push the jewelry holding the taper to make sure it doesn't separate. And as we can see, it pops out here where the head of the jewelry is going to go in. That's the pin part, pushes into there, and then it locks in together. And then we'll clean up that ear. I'll give you some more gauze in a second. Good, now we're inserting the pin part, which pushes in and then wedges into the tube. Excellent, looks really good. Some gauze, we can clean that up. Excellent. So now we're going to go ahead and clean up the client. We will get the blood to stop, discard of needles in the appropriate waste bins. We have a red bin here, which we throw needles away in. We never throw them in garbage. One, people can get poked and stuck. Two, it's against the law here in New York. So here at Redink Piercing School, we have our own brand of piercing spray. We make it locally. It's vegan and all natural. And we use this typically, a client will be recommended to use this 2 to 3 times a day, front and back, spray the piercing, pat it down with some type of sterile gauze and or some type of paper towel that's not been handled by everyone.
Ready?
Piercing spray helps to clean the area, get rid of any excess dry blood, anything that might be in the area to potentially cause a blood blister, which you'll frequently see with piercings. Typically, people think it's a keloid. It's not a keloid blood blister. It can typically be dealt with by using tea tree oil, and it usually takes a couple of weeks to dissipate. The blood blister is an accumulation of germs and bacteria in a piercing. It can happen, gets trapped in the hole, and then forms a little almost like a keloid, but it's blood coagulated in there. Again, can easily be dealt with a tea tree oil. It's really good. It's really good. You ready to see it? We're ready to sit up and see it. All right, let's take a look at it and see what the client thinks.
Oh my god, it looks so good.
Exactly. It looks really good. So client very happy with it, right? With any piercing, I mean, we want to button this up. We want to give aftercare instructions. We have our own here at the piercing school. They typically scan that, but we typically tell the client clean it 3 times a day. Don't touch it with dirty hands. Antibacterial soap, saline spray. Any issues, typically call the piercer and or email. We can address any issues. And then here at the piercing school, we give a sticker, business card, Google review card. We always want to hear people's feedback so that we can get better. And then we dispose of all of bloody tissues, rags in the appropriate bins, needles, and then any utensils that we use get put into our bin here, and then those are brought downstairs and the autoclave and ultrasound, and we clean those every day after every piercing. So that's your forward helix for today. We will be bringing you another lesson tomorrow. We look forward to having you again. Thank you, Funky, thank you. Do you have any parting words for the forward helix?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.